Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Veg Networking Canada, where we'll begin with a land acknowledgement. It is important to honor, acknowledge, and respect that many of us are located on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of many Indigenous peoples of Canada. Veg Networking Canada is a place in the community where vegan plant-based professionals and companies connect and collaborate and have amazing conversations with amazing entrepreneurs. And we have another one here today. Our special guest is an avid champion for traveling and healthy outdoor activities, a restaurateur from a single farmer's market booth to 3 brick and mortar locations. He is a community-driven entrepreneur with a passion for family and fun. Veg Networking Canada is pleased to introduce the co-founder of Heart's Choices, Eahly Shirley. Welcome, Eahly.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this is quite the honor and pleasure to be here. And I loved meeting everyone briefly and hearing about what everyone else does as well. I mean, it's um, for everyone who said something about what they do, I'm already thinking like, wow, I could collaborate with every one of these, with everyone. Um, yeah, this is really great to be in a group of like-minded people with the same, passion, with the same goal, same lifestyle, right? Um, so yeah,
That's
thank you so
exact.
much for.
That's exactly what Veg Networking Canada is all about. So those of us who are here today and going to be listening on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever it might be, we're all interested to hear more about your story and your business's story. So let's start with you personally. Can you tell everyone a little bit more about your own spark, your own origin story as it comes to plant-based vegan living?
Yes, definitely. My wife Nan and I moved to Calgary. Oh, it must have been 2010, and we were both vegetarian at the time. And moving from Vancouver, where it's so rich for options, and even we lived in Richmond, and there was lots of like those hidden gems and like Asian supermarkets. You could find all sorts of cool stuff. And we came to Calgary, and we were just like, it was a wasteland. There was like one vegetarian restaurant. There was two vegetarian restaurants in the city. That was it in 2010. And we were walking through the Calgary Farmers Market one day, and we just saw an empty 10 by 10 space. And we said, hey, we used to eat these protein replacements in Vancouver. I bet we could bring them here and sell them, and it would be a hit. And went and saw the manager and talked to her, and she was like, kind of a weird idea for Calgary, but yeah, sure, you can be vendors here. And we had multiple people tell us when we were setting up our booth and getting ready, oh, what are you doing? We're going to sell vegetarian food, and they were like, in Calgary. And we even had people tell us to our face, like, you're going to fail. And we're, well, that's your opinion, but when there's such a sentiment one way, which is, Cowtown, there's also a lot of the contrary as well. And when we opened this business, it became popular quite fast. And we ended up expanding our booth a couple of times. In the farmers market, you have to wait till the space opens up before you can take it over because it's always occupied. And then after we did that for about 3 years, we were doing outdoor farmers markets, selling our curries, going out to markets, just pushing our goods. And we ended up opening our first restaurant. And we had a customer who was a commercial real estate agent. And she just said, you guys are opening a restaurant. I have the space for you. She took us over and showed us and pretty much forced us to sign a lease. And neither me or Nan had any restaurant experience. We just loved food and we loved to cook. And we opened a restaurant in Calgary called the Thai Vegan Cafe. And it was quite fun. It was really organic, nothing like really polished. When you walked in, you almost felt like you're walking into someone's home. We were right in the menu with chalk and everything like that. And um, it was a wonderful little restaurant. We ran that for 5 years, and after about 2 years, we ended up opening a second restaurant. And when we opened the first one, that was 8 years ago. That's when we both became vegan. Um, because he said, well, we're vegetarian at the moment, but if we're going to open a restaurant, why don't we just go all the way and do it vegan? And we made the change ourselves because I noticed in my life, whenever I ate eggs and milk, I would feel weird. I wasn't like, I need to do this because of any reason. I was just like, I physically, my body was telling me like, don't eat this anymore. And I was like, okay, cool. So we did that, opened that restaurant. Then we ended up opening another restaurant, which I'm currently sitting in. We had the first vegan food truck in a city. We ended up opening restaurants in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which is still running. We had one in Costa Rica for a few years, which the pandemic kind of put an end to that. But then recently we ended up moving down to Ecuador, And while we were there, of course, the idea was to live in Ecuador and relax while the restaurant here was running itself. Everything was going smooth. And Nan was always she was always super passionate about people need to eat more vegan food, and myself as well. But she was the real driving force behind it. Let's open a restaurant in Ecuador. Holy cow. Okay, opened a restaurant in Ecuador as well, which is still there and still running. It's called Nandala in this cool little city called Cuenca. But brings me back to today. We have the Heart's Choices Cafe, and we are in two of the Calgary farmers markets, which are year round, like quite really nice. I would say more of an artisan market, like a mall almost. And we're running those three businesses at the moment. And for me, I couldn't really imagine doing any other work as a cook myself. Uh, I couldn't work in a restaurant where it was serving meat or preparing dishes that weren't strictly plant-based. We look at it like it's like an altruistic business that we do. It's as we're serving vegan food, we're helping the earth, we're helping the community, we're helping the animals. And that's always the goal behind it. We've never been much for saying out loud what we do and the reason behind it. We let the food do the talking for us. And the amount of people we have come here who are not vegetarian or vegan by any means, I mean, it's ironic. Our immediate next door neighbor who we share a wall with is called Master Meats, and it's this really busy butcher shop right next to a vegan restaurant, you know. But even the owner of the butcher shop comes over for lunch quite frequently, you know. So that's a good testament to the food and what we do here. So that's a
Absolutely.
brief history of Heart's Choices.
Absolutely. And we should have added international restaurateur to your introduction and to your bio. That is so
Yeah.
cool. Thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story about where this lifestyle started for you. When it comes to your entrepreneur spark, your entrepreneur origin story, was that at the sort of the same time that this all happened for you with the farmers market, or were you an entrepreneur before, or were you an entrepreneur at a company and then made the jump to sort of be your own boss? How did that unfold for you?
Yeah, in the past, I wasn't entrepreneurial. All of this started out of a necessity for ourselves. We like joke about it. It was that we needed food to eat for ourselves here in Calgary, so we decided to just start making the food. And then there wasn't a restaurant, so we just said, "Hey, there's a gap that needs to be filled." And at the time, we weren't working, and we were living in Calgary, wondering, what can we do with ourselves? But we were consider ourselves smart enough to be able to figure out how to do it. And, it was quite the trial by fire to learn how to run a restaurant. We watched every episode of Kitchen Nightmares, like all however many seasons there is. And we would just be watching that every day, like, okay, these are the things we don't do, right? But it was just with our personality and making really, really deep, like heartfelt connections with our customers is where we found our success. And the entrepreneurial, it was born out of necessity, and it just came naturally. I don't remember a time where it was like, we need to be our own bosses, we need to run our own companies. It just started as something small, but as time went on, it just grew and grew and grew. I mean, if I include farmers markets that we've done that have shut down, or other things and businesses that we've made and sold, and we've opened 12 vegan restaurants in 11 years. Yeah.
Wow, wow. And that's a common thread that we've heard from other special guests is, hey, I'm looking for this. And instead of asking the question, why, like, why is it? It's like, why not? Why not me? I can fill this void. So that's a very common entrepreneurial, it's either that or, I was selling candy to kids when I was 2, right? So there's those interesting differences with entrepreneurs, and it's great to hear your story. So thank you. When it comes to your industry, plant-based, vegan, restaurants, retail, feel free to add whatever you want to this. But the question is, what are some trends that you are spotting in your industry? Or maybe not trends, but changes or transformations, maybe.
Mhm. We have both sides in our restaurant. So we have a retail side, and then we have the restaurant hot food side. And we notice a lot, especially in Calgary, people like convenience. And you see it when you go into the supermarkets. I mean, the amount of plant-based offerings is like, it's just multiplying all the time. You go into the dairy section and there's more plant-based than there is cow-based. Um, and I've noticed a lot of people wanting to have kind of that convenient grab and go stuff they can make at home as well. I feel that's a really huge thing. Lots of meal delivery services popping up these days. Our catering has started getting quite busy as well lately. The other day, we just catered a 35-person office lunch to a office of where nobody was vegetarian or vegan. And they said, we're doing a sustainability week. So we thought plant-based would be a good thing to do. And after we gave them the catering, they said, we need to get you set up on an EFT so we can order catering from you all the time, because everyone loved it. They were shocked and blown away because we made Thai massaman curry. Like, we make a lot of Thai food. Um, and I think our Thai food's amazing. We won best Thai restaurant in our city 3 years in a row. Versus the non-vegan restaurants, just, you know. So I think the trend it's just growing exponentially for plant-based, and a lot of people who just want to do what would you say, part-time vegan, or just incorporate more plant-based eating into their life. People are more aware of it now as well. I do see a lot of the fast food vegan popping up as well. I mean, in Calgary, we had one, and then within the next month, there's going to be three straight up, like, totally fast food joints, which we never had before. And that seems to be a big thing too, like the vegan comfort food. Give it to people, make them feel like they're not, when they're done their meal, they're not going to be like, oh, I wish I went and ate something else. They're going to be totally satisfied.
Absolutely. So convenience, especially like you mentioned too, for those who are in that work from home situation, which a lot of folks are right now, having that convenience is even more important. And
Mhm.
that's so great to hear about the office wellness sustainability lens that you're also seeing in terms of the catering side of things, because if we do really want to make an impact, making an impact with food, with people who might not normally make those choices, and making them as delicious, even not, if not more so, can have huge, huge results. So that's so cool. That's so great to hear. Thank you for sharing. Where is Heart's Choices going in the future? Maybe 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, who knows?
That's what I have to work on at the moment. For myself, in the past, I had a bit of a tragedy in my life where my wife passed away 7 months ago, Nan, and she was really the driving force behind the whole thing. And when something like that happens in your life, it's a rebirth. It was me and Nan's plan in the past, and now it's my plan. So, I really am in a moment of reevaluating. I'd like to be like, I have it down on paper exactly where I want to go and what I want to do, but um, life's not always like that. You can make a plan and it can just go right out the window. But I definitely do see Heart's Choices getting more into the retail offering side. We've been making and packaging products for ages. That's why, Jim, what you were talking about is very interesting about retail packaging, because we've been making and selling our own stuff for 7 years, and we get asked all the time by stores and suppliers if we sell our stuff wholesale, and it hasn't been something we've gotten into yet, but I definitely see that as a big avenue going forward. The restaurant side, it's an extreme amount of work, and it's a lot of hard work with not a lot of reward. That's kind of the classic restaurant scenario. So to expand more into that after we've done so many, um, I'm not sure that I would do more restaurants, but definitely getting into the retail side of it is somewhere we want to go.
Perfect. Well, first and foremost, from all of us at Veg Networking Canada, rest in paradise, Nan, obviously,
Thank
first and
you.
foremost. And in terms of what you mentioned about where is Heart's Choices going in the future, retail, very exciting, fresh, new, uh, something more than a look, right? Like, you obviously, after all these years, have quite the fanfare, for lack of a better word, cult following, that kind of thing. And just having a brand refresh to bring it all together sounds as well like where Heart's Choices is going in the future. So that's very exciting. The next question we have for you is always prefaced by saying there's no right or wrong answers. Maybe you're going to answer it from what the business has done, or maybe in your own personal life as the owner of the business or what have you. But the question is, does Heart's Choices currently or plan to, or maybe in the past, have supported any charities?
Yeah, we do quite a lot. Just today, we did a catering this morning for a local, it's called ARCS, Alberta Animal Rescue Crew. And they rescue cats and dogs and find homes for them. On Saturday, we're doing a free catering, almost free. I tried to give it to them for free, they wouldn't take it, for a farm rescue just down the street. So I just said, okay, fine, $80, whatever. Um, just an arbitrary number I made up because I really want to donate it to them. And so we do a lot of support for these, like the Farm Rescue Alice Sanctuary and ARCS, the rescue crew. We're making food for a fundraiser for a local, they call it Animal Task Force, where they do spay neuter clinics. So we support a lot of these groups in Calgary, and we have been since we opened for the past 10 years. It's been really important. Even after Nan passed away, we did a fundraiser. We did like a big, and we raised a few $1,000s for each of those charities. And we do that as much as we can. I always try, and even if it's not raising money, maybe it's making food once a month for the 30 employees who work at ARCS, because when they get that, they feel so good, because it's like, if I can support these people to do that good work, hey, that's a blessing if I'm able to support other people. So we were doing free food every Wednesday all through the pandemic for almost 2 years. We'd make almost 200 meals every Wednesday, and they'd just be sitting out front, and anyone could come and take them. Since the pandemic's kind of eased down, and people are getting back to on their feet a little better, we haven't been doing that as much. But next week we're going to start cooking 100 meals every weekend. That my friend has an amazing charity that she does every weekend. She goes downtown and cooks for the homeless people downtown. So I just told her, we're going to take some of that pressure off you, and we'll do a lot of the cooking. So we're really excited to start doing that, actually.
Wow, Eli, this is exactly why in your bio, in your introduction, we called you a community-driven entrepreneur, because that, walks and, action talks. So thank you so much for, on behalf of everybody in your community, for what you guys have done and will continue to do, because that's absolutely incredible. And you've mentioned early on in the conversation the, for a lack of better words, let's call it friction or disagreement between, what you would typically find maybe in Calgary or Alberta in terms of food choices to what you guys are offering. But at the end of the day, speciesism aside, there's the animals that, everybody, wherever you go, generally are going to be caring about. So another interesting way for you to grow the impact with people who might not be thinking about your food and the choices that come along with it. We think it's really, really smart, and obviously very impactful. So thank you. So the next question is around resources that you have used to help you as an entrepreneur. It might be mindset, it might be literal, books and numbers, it might be business planning, anything goes. And I will say that, bring it back to what you mentioned, which is actually really smart. It's not a book, a podcast, or an app on your phone like the question asks, but you mentioned kitchen nightmares and how powerful, whatever industry you're in or whatever content you have access to use it and look through the lens of, hey, I'm going to watch this to see what not to do and speed up the curve of those mistakes. So that's really interesting. But with that being said, do you have any books, podcasts, or apps that you would recommend as resources for others?
At the moment, I've been working really every day diligently with my mindset, especially in the past year, more than ever. I realized how my business is directly affected by everything that I think. And I've been mostly just finding a lot of educational videos on YouTube. Neville Goddard is a phenomenal. I don't know if you guys are aware of him. And I've been getting into a lot of his work lately, and just changing my attitude and how I approach my business and how I approach and talk to myself, more importantly. Um, there's nothing more important than that. I mean, it all comes from me. If there's ever an issue in my business, I have to look at myself first. Nan was unbelievable at this. I mean, she was never negative, Not once did I see her negative, worried, or scared. Such an inspiration. That's why she was so fearless to open all of these locations. Um, I mean, even just opening one is quite the intimidating, stressful thing when you have to put all these financials, this money and investment into it, and you have to make it work. But there was never a doubt in Nan's mind, and that's one thing I learned from her, and I'll be forever grateful for that. And I would just, for me, honestly, I would just say mindset and mindfulness and self-awareness are the things that I'm just working with all the time.
Absolutely. And it's totally fine if the answer is no. Do you have any apps on your phone that you use for mindset or affirmation, anything like that, or no?
I don't. I do some of the Joe Dispenza stuff, some of his meditations. I do also have a quite an affinity and a connection with Thai Buddhism. I still have a property in a house in Thailand, and I've connected with that since I was young. So I do approach like my day with their teachings and the way they approach things. It's just with a mindfulness and an equanimity, and trying not to be good or bad, and try and walk that middle path, and it's very easy to stray off of it, and just to bring yourself back. So I do listen to actually a lot of talks from the Thai Buddhist monks. They're called Theravada Buddhism, and there's some Farang, some Western monks who give lots of, and they call them Dhamma talks, and they're wonderful, and they're so refreshing, and so to the point. You're stressing about something, and they give these hilarious analogies, and you're like, why was I even worrying?
I wonder if what comes up for me is the TED talk that I've seen from I believe a Buddhist monk, and he has this incredible story about a journey up a mountain. And if anybody's listening and they know that TED talk that I'm talking about, sorry, I don't remember what it's called, but it comes to mind. And you're right, Eli. If people who are practicing Buddhism monks, they're low key some of the most hilarious people you will ever come across in your
Yeah,
entire life. So we feel you on that one.
yeah.
The next question is centered around inspiration, and it could be somebody around the corner from you, overseas, big company, small company. Obviously, it goes without saying, you draw a lot of inspiration from man. You mentioned Neville Goddard. Is there any other inspiration factors that you would like to share with the folks listening?
I'm inspired by anyone who has the courage and the gumption to have their own business and to be a business owner. I'm always impressed by all the other restaurant owners here who are the vegan restaurants. I'm friends with most of them, almost all of them, and um, there's such a good camaraderie between the most of us. And just to be able to be anyone who's their own business owner is a big inspiration for me. And anyone who can find a great work-life balance doing it as well. That's something that as a business owner, it's very easy to forget about yourself. And the business just owns you and it just takes everything from you. And there's a lot of people around who I watch and admire. Um, I can't really like pinpoint anyone that you guys would know of, for example. But and also I would say every day, the people that I meet in my restaurant, my clients, I don't want to call them customers, my friends, and just the people I meet every day in my life. I can be inspired by anything and anyone, how they are in their daily life.
That's extremely powerful in terms of mindset. There's a quote by, can't remember his name, but it's essentially treat the janitor the same way that you treat the CEO. And that's very interesting to hear you speak about maybe taking inspiration off this pedestal that
Mhm.
maybe in the past it was reserved for, and letting that spread amongst strangers, random encounters, whatever it is, continuing to inspire and be inspired. So thank you so much for sharing that. And it kind of dovetails nicely into our last conversation starter for you, which is centered around advice, wisdom, tips. Could be short-winded, long-winded, whatever you want. I will summarize a little bit of what you said through the conversation that's kind of standing out in terms of if we were to say, what was Eli's advice? I think it kind of comes down to, I circled courage, especially after you just started talking about what you said. which it sounds like for you, like it is for a lot of people who are inspired by courage, is knowing it's the hard thing, knowing it's the difficult thing, knowing people in your face telling you you're going to fail with, and doing it anyways. So I think that's some advice that you would give. You talked about self-care, you talked about feeling your feelings. That's a great thing to do, is feel your feelings. Basically, you mentioned the most important real estate for anyone is the 6 inches between their own ears, and what you can accomplish with that, and being collaborative over competitive. So without taking away your steam, is there any advice that you would like to give for those folks listening that, aside from, or dig deeper into what you've already given us today? Thank you.
Yeah, you summed it up very well. Thank you. Um, I think for me, through my journey of, I would just put it in what I've been doing the last 11 years, running these restaurants. It's been a passion project for us. It's something that we love to do. We've made our living out of it. It's been extremely enjoyable. I've loved it, you know, every minute might not be an easy one, but there's always going to be ups and downs on every journey, right? It's like the waves in the sea. There's always an up and there's always a down. When you're in that down spot, you got to remember that the up spot's coming too. But when you're in the up spot, you can't just be attached to that either, because there's going to be a down again. And that's life. It's just this roller coaster that we're riding. And to try and keep a good positive perspective of it. And the other thing that I'm constantly aware of is being grateful for all the opportunities that I've been given. I feel extremely lucky every morning just to even be able to wake up, you know, and for the people that I've had in my life and the opportunities that I have, the clients that walk into my business, all my friends, for you guys here having me here today. Thank you everyone for being part of this and listening to my story. Um, that gratitude mindset for me, I think at the moment is the most important thing I could reiterate.
Absolutely beautiful. And with that being said, before we let people know where they can find out more about Heart's Choices online and on Instagram, is there anything that you would like to leave us with? Announcements, anything at all? No pressure. It's okay if not. It's up to you.
Well, we are making a Thanksgiving dinner on Sunday. So if anyone's in Calgary and vegan, that's we do it every year. This year we're selling 200 tickets. It was pretty neat. The Global News came the other day and did a news piece on us and lumped us in with all the other places making turkey, and then they had the vegan restaurant in there too, which was pretty cool. And so that's been a really popular thing we've been doing for the last 7 years. But yeah, if anyone's in Calgary ever, please, you know, let me know if you're coming. Would love to meet all of you, or likewise if I'm in your area. I would love to look some of you up and say hi.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And even for those who are going to be in Calgary this weekend who aren't vegan, who are, you know, it's a common phrase now, plant curious, plant-based, dabbling, whatever it might be, you can have some delicious food.
Flexitarian, yeah.
Exactly. You have some delicious eats and you're not going to miss anything except maybe that sluggish feeling afterwards. So thank you so much, Eli. And everybody listening, you can find out more about Heart's Choices. It's so easy. I love it when it's this simple on a website and on Instagram. It's www.heartschoices.com. And on Instagram, it is @HeartsChoices. So thank you so much, Eli, for joining us here on Veg Networking Canada for your spotlight on Heart's Choices. And for everybody else, we'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you.